Heyo! It is morning for me. So I've reviewed each of these rides on my YouTube channel once before. All of them have different ratings based on what they used to be. And I think they changed a little bit. I don't know about you. If you haven't been watching my content, maybe you're living under a rock. There's quite a bit of changes that I need to account for here in my ride ranking. Not for this one though. Skywatcher is pretty bad overall. Because of its high capacity and high throughput, it got nerfed with a lot of the other rides. There's nothing you can really do to bring up the price from $4.20. Nice, by the way. Ultimately though, when it has a capacity of 120 guests and you want your guests to go ride other stuff, you just don't really want to be placing this unless you're putting it down for the vibes, which remains the case. So I think it stays at like a D or so. Over here we have 360 power, which actually got quite the buff this time around. The main consideration is that the base ride sequence for it is actually one of the most profitable. So although you could get more prestige on it by changing around its ride sequence, it makes more money if you just leave it as is. So I still don't really like the layout. You either come from the front or the back. You set up an exit close to the maintenance operations building here that comes with every ride, and then mechanics can get to it really quickly. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle of the ride and it takes a while and that causes some downtime. But guests can't come in from any entrance that they want to, and that can hamper how you want to place this. But overall, it's smaller of a blueprint than other rides in general, and so it can fit into some tighter spaces than you would expect. For these reasons, ease of use mostly, I think I'm going to bump it up a tier to 3-star. And probably I'll give it a B-. Could be better, could be worse. Full flight. Now I was just looking at this and it does benefit from switching up its ride sequence because it changes how much you can make from it. It goes from 272, which doesn't naturally hit classic with the scenery bonus tacked on, to 420. Nice again, by the way. And that's like a 40-cent difference. You keep your guests on the ride for longer. It always helps to have your guests inside rides and not in queues or walking about the park, especially now with the new changes that makes them less hungry, thirsty, lowers their needs in general while they're on rides or in queues. I don't think much has changed here, to be honest. I don't remember what I actually named this before, but I think it's close to a B. So meta still stays about the same for this. And Ironclaw, which I am usually a huge advocate for. The base prestige for this ride is 252, which means that it will not get to classic prestige even with the scenery bonus of 200, which means that you should adjust it if you want to keep it popular for a long enough period of time for it to matter. The old ride sequencing still works just fine. It gets it up to 400, which means it'll be 600 at the end of the day. Price comparison between changing it up and not changing it up is about 50 cents per ticket, which is not bad. But it's now moved down to the middle of the pack as far as how much money you can make from this thing. So I don't think it's anywhere near as good as it used to be honest. However, for what it is, it actually has quite a relatively low nausea rating. I think it's gone from A- to maybe about a B. And if this is a B, then I think it should probably move up in my rankings. I'll call this a B+. I'll reserve the 5-star for stuff I consider to be top of the line, nothing really better. Everything's gonna have its caveats. Yeah, I think this is probably about right. With Ironclaw, you can enter and exit from any angle, which is why I actually haven't ticked it down too far despite its lackluster price per second. And the fact that you can place it out the gate no matter what park you're playing in, without research, is really, really nice. All things to consider with this ride in particular. And I think those are the 4 that I wanted to talk about that I have already on my YouTube channel. Although I have them marked as outdated, you should probably go and check out those videos anyway, because I go in depth about their layout and how guests typically treat these rides. That's about it. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day. And now I can do stream things.